This week, I want to tell you about how I spent $400,000 on my education. And no, it wasn't at Harvard or Stanford. It was in a business I started, one that failed spectacularly. So years ago, I spotted what I thought was a golden opportunity. I knew the world of alternative assets really well. So when I say alternative assets, I mean real estate, tax liens, foreign currencies, crypto, small businesses. And at Guidant, one of the companies I had founded, we were already helping people use retirement funds to invest in some of these. There just wasn't a clear place online where someone could learn about all of these options, the things beyond stocks, bonds, mutual funds. And it felt like a maze with no map. And so I came up with this idea. Why not build a central hub? So this site would be part magazine, part marketplace, filled with articles and insights and opportunities for these people who wanted to explore different types of investments, things maybe over which they could have more control or greater upside. And at the time, these subscription websites like Daily Candy and Thrillist were blowing up. I remember when I was concepting this idea, Daily Candy had just sold for 125 million bucks, and I thought, perfect, we are going to do the same thing for alternative investing. And so I went all in. I hired a team of writers. I brought on a technologist as a co-founder, leased office space, spent several hundreds of thousands of dollars building this beautiful website that we called NuWire Investor. And then we launched, and we waited, and we waited. The traffic trickled in, but the revenue didn't. And pretty quickly, we dropped the subscription model because we needed to attract more visitors. And this helped boost traffic a little. But now we had an even bigger problem, which is we didn't have a revenue model. So we pivoted to advertising. We cut costs. We let go of writers. We scaled back to the bare minimum. But the reality is the math never worked. And eventually, we ended up selling the site to an old employee for about 25 cents on the dollar. And when the dust settled, we were out $400,000. That was my tuition. And here's the lesson it taught me. Field of Dreams is a lie. So if you've never seen Field of Dreams, it's this movie where Kevin Costner hears a voice telling him, if you build it, he will come. And so he plows under his cornfield, he builds this baseball field, and magically the ghosts of famous players show up. But in business, if you build it, they will come. It's not true. You can't just create something because you think it's awesome and expect that customers are magically going to show up. What I failed to do was the most basic thing before starting a business. Find the customer. I actually didn't even know who the customer really was, let alone what their pain points were, what they were willing to pay for, or even how they wanted to be served. So instead, I spent a year of my life at nearly $500,000 building out an assumption. And looking back, the painful truth is I could have tested the concept of NuWire with almost no money. I could have made a simple WordPress site. I could have launched a really simple weekly newsletter. I could have experimented with a few ads to see if anyone cared enough to click. That would have told me if there was actual genuine interest long before we would have had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I didn't test small. I invested big, and I paid the price. And now here's the part I want you to hear. You don't need to lose $400,000 to learn this lesson. You are welcome to borrow my scars. The reality is every business exists for one reason, to serve a customer. If you don't know who they are, how to reach them, and what makes their lives better, then you don't really have a business. You just have an expensive hobby. And that's part of why I developed the ART idea filtering framework. The ART framework filters ideas through assumptions, that's the A, risks, that's the R, and then testability, that's the T. Now, this is the filter I wish I had that I could have run NuWire through before I spent a dime. If I had stopped to ask, what assumptions am I making? Which of those assumptions carry the most risk? And how could I test those as cheaply and quickly as possible? I could have saved $400,000, not to mention a year of my focus. So if you're thinking about starting a business, don't fall for the Field of Dreams trap. Test before you invest big. Start small, start scrappy, prove your idea works before you pour more of your time, money, and energy into it. And as usual, if you found this valuable, please like, share, and comment. Best of luck to you on your journey. Cheers.